Welcome back, View. Thank you for the tip as well. I'll try to remember to spend money. It's the whole reason why we're actually back here in town. It's probably been a day or so since we last spoke. This weird time lapse occurs at certain points between you and I. I don't quite understand it myself, but even though it might feel like several days have elapsed for you, rest assured that it's just been a few mere moments for me. But because I know you suffer from this, we will summarize what's happened since you were last with me. We arrived at the town of Belleville and met the handful of residents who still live herein. We walked out into the woods and discovered that the villagers are being plagued by a werewolf. We were able to put, I believe, a single silver bullet into it. We also have encountered various forms of undead out in those woods, including whisperers as well. We met a friendly ghost, which took us towards a skill book, useful since we always forget what skills we have between the different villages that we arrive at. We won't have any such issues here, obviously, until we leave. This is my way of trying to say that whatever we pick up will retain, unless we were to start a new game. And for this hunter, this way I have some in-game means to explain why we are quite skilled at hunting, and yet we've forgotten most of these skills, and we had to repurchase our equipment that we lost when we were attacked earlier by the werewolf, and our cart was destroyed and our horse killed. We've explored some bits of the forest, and we've discovered some save stones outside, one of which actually saved our life, as we were killed by an undead out there. It's not pleasant being ripped back through time to reappear in front of that standing stone again. But it does, I suppose, win out against slow decomposition. Currently, this is our gear and what skills that we know. Or rather, I will let you look into my soul and you can see what I currently possess. We've picked up a glowstone from an abandoned house here in the town, and we will probably explore a little more now as well. We have earned ourselves another silver crucifix, apparently. The trader here will provide us with a free silver crucifix for every 10 creatures that we kill. The effects stack. It was a bargain that he and I have made while you were off doing whatever it is you do between episodes. He will agree to also give us these whenever we kill at least 10 creatures. So if we kill 20, we can expect to receive 2 of them from him upon talking to him again in town. Now, since we are here, and I have been not so wise about claiming ammunition that we've been finding so far, I think it would do us well to repurchase an ammo bag. In this way, we can hold much more ammunition. We will bring our maximum now up to 60. I feel a little more comfortable now exploring the other parts of the town. Let's go ahead and explore some of the farms over here, the livestock area, and the barn they're in. It looked like something was just lowered into the well here. I thought I saw a head pop up momentarily. Whatever protective influence Father Ludwig must have placed in the town, there must be some limit to it. Ah. It would appear as if one of the farmers has a treasure chest here. A golden goblet and some silver bullets. Most likely antiques from the farmer's father or some other relative that he didn't know what to do or how to put to use properly. We will find good use for those bullets. Ah. A bag of coins by a windowsill. Most likely a bribe drop-off point for some blackmail or other nefarious cause. We can safely make the assumption that whoever this was for has cleared out of town some time ago. Now, you might have seen that there was something available at the trader called a hunter's license. I want to explain that to you, Vi, for some balance reasons. I don't know how else to phrase it, but you and I have talked about this in the past. I realize that you are watching me, what I do, whenever I am present, because you wish to be entertained. And that is fine. I'm appreciative of your viewing of what I do. To keep you entertained, however, know that I will not purchase that hunter's license now. We will wait at the very least until we have eliminated this werewolf. The hunter's license, I believe, would make things a little too easy, and would probably ruin some of your immersion. The license would allow us to be paid for every creature that we kill, regardless of what it was, and we would earn 10 coins from the mayor for every trophy so claimed. The mayor will trust us. We will not have to bring back any physical proof of this. It does, however, make some aspects of this hunt a little too simple. We won't have to worry about running out of funds with the hunter's license. It is 300 coins, but that can be easily made back up. We will wait to purchase this until later. Whoever lived at this house was an experienced herbalist of sorts. Ah, and they have silver bullets inside as well. And apparently, it is still occupied. Though not by a human. Good evening, little one. And to you, too. The last time I had seen a spider near a large cauldron, it was for the witch Baba Yaga. That was in the town of Spielberg, if I remember correctly. I believe a different hero showed up there to rid the town of its troubles. It was far too troublesome for me. I wasn't used to hunting the strange creatures in those woods. Cheetars and sauruses, of all things. Bedbugs. And a safe. I do not know the code to it. And I doubt it is hidden somewhere in this house. Come. Let's head out to the woods and continue our hunt. First, actually, I believe we left some bullets in the treasure chest within the dollhouse. A fitting name, I think, for what we've seen in this. Let's go back and retrieve them. We have the inventory space to carry them now. And I might have left some things of great import here. I do not know how to get into this room. Or at least we cannot do so at this moment. There have been no secret switches to get us in there. Whatever magic is held within that treasure chest will have to be unclaimed at this moment. You might not remember, but this is where we picked up the glowstone from earlier. 40 bullets, which will hopefully not need as many to down this werewolf. I cannot reach through and claim that silver goblet. Perhaps some things are best left undisturbed after all. Very well. Enough poking about town. Let's get out there. Indeed, Vi, you are correct. When the silver crucifix's lightning hits a creature, we will hear such occur. As I believe happened once so far. It will also be a dead giveaway as to where our quarry is currently located. I cannot actually remember where we have been. Not overly much, or what areas we have thoroughly explored. The area to our south, where we rescued the dog from the cave, there will be nothing else for us there. I think we had begun to explore this northern path, but didn't fully explore the ridges here, nor the ridge to the northeast. Why don't we explore that northeast area now, then? We'll get a good look at what's on top of this ridge, and see if we can see our target, perhaps by the cabin. I promised you tales when you came back, Vi. I will do my best to share some. Hunting, in this means, was not quite how I started my career. My first experience with the supernatural occurred many years ago. 4 decades, just about, to be exact. Or perhaps even slightly longer. 1 second. I want to avoid the Whisperer. Two whisperers out that way. And 2 other undead. I can see the outline of the zombie there. And there is a cairn in the distance. Some strange standing stones are nearby as well. It will make searching this ridge difficult. I do not think we can reach the cairn while those whisperers are so close. But we will eliminate these undead. She has heard us, and she is charging us. She's also rather far away. Since the whisperers are over there, let us search this side of the hill first. Some 40 years ago, 4 decades, I began my journeys. As a wee little young one, my first foray into the occult was a haunted house. It was in a very strange land. I believe the realm was called the Lotaeri, if I remember right. The haunted house was not so easily navigable. It would be difficult to explain it to you, Vi, because unless you were around back then, you would not understand very well how the haunted house was presented. It wasn't like most things, and my memory of it only allows me to remember my eyes. A pair of them. The haunted house was 3 stories high, and I was in there to retrieve some sort of special chest or key. Once I had all 3 pieces, I would be allowed to leave. The view, Vi, was quite different than what we are witnessing here at this moment together. This, looking through my eyes, is not what I believe you would have seen at the time. Instead, I believe you would have been able to see what I was seeing through a top-down view, as it were, as if you were a crow flying in the sky, or rather hovering above me. There's no pulse. Before we continue with my haunted house tale, these stones, I don't believe we've seen them before. When we get close to them, notice that the amount of mana that shows up down below. We can use these stones and sacrifice some of our life to be fully restored of our mana. As much as I would like to fully explore this ridge and search those stones, I am not comfortable getting close to either of those whisperers. Let us leave our... No, let's not do that. We could let one of the whisperers touch us. We would lose our mana, but there is some still here. But no, let's move on. From this top-down view, you would be able to see as well, I believe, inside the mansion. It was quite dark. The supernatural creatures within it would not be considered very dangerous by our standards today, but back then, they were more than enough for me. I think I must have been but a wee 8 years old at the time. A spider, a bat, and a ghost lurked within that haunted house. I believe if any of them managed to touch you, or me, that is, that would have been the end of us. However, I had a special talisman which would allow me similar safety as one of these save stones. However, it did not save me at a present state, and it was only usable 9 times, as opposed to an infinite amount of times, like these stones are. I suppose you could say that things were a bit tougher back then, until we got used to the idea of magic and what it could do for us. That is curious. I doubt what we see here was done by an act of nature. Or if it was, it had a helping hand. A golden man underneath these bows. Probably a tribute to the Green Man. I saw the bones, did not realize it was a skitterer. Back to the haunted house. As I was really young, I could not carry very many things at the same time. There was no room for a musket, a flintlock, and a saber. For my 8-year-old self, my pockets could not carry so much. So I was forced to carry just one of these objects around. I have very limited memory of what else was involved in that process. The creatures that hunted me could not very readily be seen. I was forced to use matches to help see the immediate area around me. It did not illuminate every room that I entered. And the mansion itself was a series of interlocking rooms. I believe there were locked doors therein. When something evil was near me, I would have a feeling similar to what we have here. Not a heartbeat, but the wind would increase, a howling would begin, and I believe I would see flashes of light to warn me that something was coming. I believe with this information, Lotaeri and Haunted House, you could probably look and find this information with whatever that strange web is that you like to spend some time on. I never did, I believe, find all the objects I needed to inside that haunted house. It was done just as a dare, and it was very frightening to me when I was very young. I did not like not knowing where the creatures were. Without a means to really defend myself, I felt very vulnerable, and I was not used to that. Another ridge. Let us see if we can fully explore this one. Ah, the face in the stones. We have been here before, and then I believe we have fully searched this place. A cannon. Interesting. I believe he is out to the east. I might actually know his exact location. Let us try to reach him. Sink another silver bullet into him. I am remembering something extremely stupid that I said last time that I would like to correct at this point. At the end of our last episode together, I mentioned that silver bullets are silver bullets, which actually tells you no information at all. I had been talking about the damage done with our musket versus our flintlock. The damage is the same. The damage we do to these creatures is more dependent upon the fact that we are using silver bullets against it, rather than the means at which we launch them into our enemy. The musket is more accurate at long distances compared to the pistol. Otherwise, though, I do not think there is much of a difference. When it comes to the werewolf, like all the other creatures, though, we will not want to use our saber. As you have seen when the undead reached me last time, it will be a very painful experience should that occur. Be ready, Vi. We are drawing close to it, I believe. It is still near that cannon that we saw. Let us leave our crucifix here. We are close by. Very, very close. We may hear it very soon. That strange tree. I believe what we are looking for is very close to that. Times like this, I wish you could actually speak with me, to tell me that if you saw it or not, and where you did. A whisper. Up on that ledge. We do not want to go up that way. I think it is on the other side of that ledge. It's very important, Vi, that I listen to see if I hear it. Which is why we are not doing much talking at the moment. Here is the cannon. Let us see if it is somewhere nearby. I believe it is, but it's further south than where we are currently located. There is the Whisperer. I do not like how close it is to us. Sorry, Vi. I do not like this either. We're going to want to kill this hellhound. We need mana. This way. Keep your eyes peeled for more whispers. Like the one on that ridge there. This is where we saw the spirit earlier, but I cannot be certain. So let us talk a bit about other times I was exposed to the occult when I was young. It's difficult to remember that far back. I am certain there was at least one other time. I am remembering a maze in the land of Lotaeri as well. Another view that would have looked familiar. Top down. You would have been seeing what I would... the entirety of the maze. Offerings left to the dead here. You can keep them at this moment. I am having a hard time remembering what transpired in this game. The maze was purple or blue, the walls. Very strange. The stone that was used to create it. I think, a wizard. But I am not certain. Perhaps this was more akin to a dream then. It was very strange. The maze had these odd purple squiggly like creatures in it. I cannot say more for certain about them than that. And there were other creatures that I could see at all times in the maze, but the squiggly ones I could swear were invisible, or only appeared and then reappeared elsewhere. We could use some mana. Let us... And we are now hurt. Let us see if we can go back up and find a healing herb up here. Maybe we won't need it, but I don't know actually where our foe is. Let's see. A tent. I believe I know where this is located. That tent is near it's south to the southern edge of this canyon. If we make our way to the cabin and turn south from there, we will not be far away from that tent. Corpse, an animal, left as an offering to this wicked-looking tree. And a healing herb, and a dog. If I didn't know better, I'd think there were bullets here, too. There is our mark, in the woods to the south. It sees us, I think. This could go very bad if we miss. Our aim was true. It's on the run. It has gotten away. It is not near us currently. do not know how it managed to escape. Perhaps it can leap great distances more than what I thought it could do. Let's see where it is. It runs very fast. Still blinded by the wound we just inflicted. This area should be safe to explore. At least it will be rid. At least currently that creature is not here. I think the maze might have been called, or I might have been called, the Wizard of War back then. But I think this is not correct. So many of these strange dreams and occurrences I had where I brushed against the occult blend together from those earlier days. That lone tree bears some investigation, I think. I'm trying to think if there was any time that I had experienced the occult while my father was a Commodore. I'm certain such experiences existed, and the occult did as well back then, but I did not brush up against any such encounters. That said, my experiences during that time were not altogether safe. I had explored several dungeons when I was a teenager. Legend of Black Silver, Legacy of the Ancients. These stories contain dungeons extremely frightening to my young self. I remember the sound of dripping water in the dungeons and the echoing footfalls that I made as I explored them. When I had begun my adventure and my first time through these places, I did not actually make a map. I instead attempted to rely on my memory. This would prove to be very faulty. Like our exploration of the woods, things blend together, and I cannot remember, or could not remember, exact locations if I needed to. This would cause me to get lost inside these enclosed tombs, which in turn would find me struggling to move about them. The monsters in these locations were vicious and many, and seemed to respawn. Some lockpicks, some bullets, and some cash. We have quite a bit of money at the moment. I think we will go back to town. We're not too far from it, and spend some of this coin there. Later, I would revisit these locations, and I would map them out in their entirety. It's a ritual that I still do every so often, is to transfer my maps from the old papers and scripts, texts that I have them on, and move them to newer ones. It gives me a chance to remember those days and how much fun I had. There are many whisperers on the road at the moment. We are badly hurt. We need to find an herb. At the very least, we need to get away from all these creatures that are drawn to us currently. We will lose the progress we have made against that werewolf. The cabin. There. The transfer of the maps is done to help me feel nostalgic about those days. Things were much simpler back then, and yet I think they hold up in comparison to what we experience today, Vi. Those early days and my experiences in adventuring in the lands therein that presented themselves, I still have a fond place for them. When it comes to drawing maps, you would think that I would do a better job of it when it comes to mapping the woods. I'm getting lazy, and I did not bring enough ink, so I will have to rely on the markings that get added to my map by the things that we find automatically. It's a shame. I once heard a strange myth of an insect that traveled through a ruins of its kind. Empty as well, this Hollow Knight was able to purchase special pins and mark them on its map. Hello. Someone is watching us from the second floor. Before we investigate that, let us see the doctor and have our wounds tended to. Next, let us see the trader. We have plenty of money to spend. And 2 free crucifixes added to our total. We really need to know where we're located. Let's pick up the compass. It would be helpful to not be noticed by so many things as well. Let's make it harder for us to be seen. Finally, it would probably be useful for us to have more life, faster regeneration, perhaps even a second chance of life. Getting more mana from what we kill could also be useful, but right now I'm not so worried about that. Why don't we improve our armor? both what we wear on our torso and that on our legs or feet. He is still upstairs, whoever that is. Is there a way to get up there? Mayor, who is upstairs? He will not answer. And I do not see a staircase we can take to get up there either. Perhaps the path will reveal itself to us in the future. I think that is all we can do at the moment in town, and we've been playing together, Vi, for almost an hour. I would like to put another bullet into the creature, though, before we call it a session. Let us head back outside. I suppose my once true encounter, the first that I can remember where it was very frightening, would have been around the year 1991. Therein, I found myself alone in the dark. Edward Carnby was his name, if I recall correctly. The gentleman whose travels I had heard of, who relayed to me his story. He had been hired to investigate the hanging of a certain individual, and arrived at the mansion where the deed had been done. This colonial-era, 3-story mansion was arrived at sunset. Not the best time to do such work, I think. Our werewolf friend is off to the west, not too far from where we are currently located. Ah, yes, we can see ourselves now on the map. The werewolf, I believe, is out west and south. Edward Carnby discovered a note in an old piano located in that mansion. The gentleman who had hung himself had written a message indicating that he had been discovered by the spirits and evil entity which had last been the owner of that structure before he did, and that he was worried about his soul, about his body being used for some nefarious purpose as a vessel to host a different creature's identity. He killed himself as it needed a live host to complete the ceremony. The werewolf is somewhere off down there. room it can maneuver around in these parts of the woods. We'll need to be careful. When night had fallen, Edward Carnaby found himself beset upon by all a manner of horrific monsters. These creatures were ones that I have now been familiarized with, but at the time I had never heard of them. Gigantic fishmen called Deep Ones, or Sahagin, lurked therein. There were these terrible hounds that could travel through dimensions there. I believe Hounds of Talandios is what they are called. The place, the mansion, was riddled with ghosts, eerily silent, but if you disturbed them by brushing up against them, you would find yourself dead shortly thereafter. The loud moans that would emanate from them, and they would chase you as sparkling lights throughout the mansion, until eventually you collapsed. Horrific spiders, vicious rats, undead. All of these things were within the mansion, and more. Eventually, Edward Carnaby would find himself completing various tasks. It was a difficult quest to accomplish. He himself did not arrive with any means to defend himself. No weapons. He was able to find some early on, thankfully, in the attic where he had begun his journey. But there was very limited ammunition for them. He had to be very careful about what he decided to use it against. He had to, shall we say, survive the horrors. And it was my first learning of such experiences. He is, I think, still south of us, but I am not 100% sure. He could be on the other side of this ravine we are in. The writing and texts in this land of the dark were rather well written, and was my first time hearing such words as Cthulhu. The tales were warped and very unnerving. His experiences coming across he approaches the river. The tales of the adventurers seeing the Aztecs, and the way in which the mansion had been described, were all very well done. You needed to piece together clues, according to Edward Carnby in order to successfully figure out how to interact and get past various obstacles that he had found within the manor, as they seemed to be related to the unique books he was finding during his time there. It was much more difficult to piece things together back then. Edward had mentioned that in today's world, there's much more hand-holding. We do need more mana. If we want to see where our foe is. Let us kill some of these zombies that we hear. There he is, through the trees. He knows us. He knows where we are, and is coming directly for us. Well done, Vi. Well done. Thank you for warning us that it was near. I think we will proceed back to town. Yes, let us head back to town now. We can end this session of ours there. Actually, now that we have that healing plant, I think instead we can end this at the cabin. All we have to do is follow the river to get there. You might be wondering how much we still have left to explore the woods. There is quite a bit we have not yet seen. There is at least one more standing stone, save stone, which we have not encountered. And while we saw the cannon, I did not interact with it, although I believe we possess a cannonball. I was worried that we might warn the werewolf to our presence before I was ready for him. I believe there are still several chests to find in these woods. And we will probably interact with one of them, at least, in the next episode. In any case, we are about to wrap this one up. Thank you, Vi, for your assistance, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode, assuming that you come back. I hope as well that what you are witnessing is of an acceptable quality. I have been attempting to improve my experiences and share them with you, and I think I have figured out a way to do so which is acceptable to both you and me. Assuming, of course, that the way in which we share these experiences continues to allow me to do so. But we will stop here, and I will thank you for watching, Vi. I look forward to seeing you in the next one.